Snow fell thick over the Cascade Mountains. Marcus Cole dropped to his knees, hands tearing through frozen ground. His German Shepherd Titan had stopped breathing from the cold, and beneath the ice, a woman's finger twitched against his palm. FBI Special Agent Elena Reyes, buried alive, left to die. But what Marcus didn't know yet, what would shatter everything he believed, was that the man who ordered her death wore the same uniform he did, the same brotherhood, the same flag. Sometimes the enemy doesn't carry a foreign weapon. Sometimes he salutes beside you. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments so I can see how far this story travels. Please like, subscribe, and stay with me until the very end. This one will stay with you. Marcus Cole hadn't slept in 4 days. He stood at the window of his cabin, watching snow pile against the glass, and tried to remember the last time silence didn't feel like a threat. 15 years as a Navy SEAL had taught him to read quiet spaces, to hear what wasn't there, to feel danger before it announced itself. But this silence was different. This was the silence of a man who had nowhere left to go. Titan pressed against his leg. The German Shepherd's dark eyes lifted toward Marcus's face, steady and patient, like he was waiting for an order that might never come. "I know," Marcus said quietly. "I know, boy." He didn't know what he was agreeing to. Maybe the dog understood something he couldn't name yet. Titan always had. The discharge papers sat on the kitchen table where he'd left them 3 weeks ago. Medical separation, post-traumatic stress, unfit for active duty. The words were clinical, typed in neat black letters, but they read like a death sentence. Marcus Cole, 35 years old, hair cropped short and dark brown, shoulders still carrying the posture of a man trained to enter rooms where people wanted to kill him. And he had nowhere to be. No mission, no team, no purpose. His therapist at the VA had suggested the cabin. "Nature helps," she'd said. "Distance helps." Distance from what? Marcus wanted to ask. The memories lived inside him. You couldn't put geography between yourself and your own mind. Titan whined softly. "All right." Marcus grabbed his coat from the hook by the door. Navy working uniform jacket, type 3, forest green and brown digital camouflage. He should have worn civilian clothes. He couldn't bring himself to. The uniform was the last thing that made sense. Outside, the cold hit like a blade. The Cascade Mountains stretched in every direction, white and indifferent. Peaks hidden in cloud cover that hadn't lifted in days. The service road wound through dense pines, barely visible now under fresh snow. Marcus had walked this road every morning since he arrived. 3 miles out, 3 miles back. Titan ranged ahead, nose to the ground, ears rotating like satellite dishes. The dog was supposed to be retired too. 7 years old. 2 combat deployments. A piece of shrapnel still lodged near his spine that the surgeon said was too risky to remove. But Titan didn't know how to stop working. Neither did Marcus. They moved in comfortable silence for the first mile. Snow fell in thick curtains, muffling the world until it felt like they were the only living things left. Marcus tried to let his mind go blank, the way his therapist taught him. Breathing exercises, grounding techniques. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice 5 things you can see. He saw white. He saw trees. He saw Titan's black and tan coat moving through the powder like a ghost. He saw his hands, steady now, but he remembered when they shook so badly he couldn't hold a coffee cup. He saw... Titan stopped. The movement was sudden, total. One moment the dog was padding forward, the next he was frozen mid-stride, every muscle locked. Marcus felt his own body respond automatically. 15 years of training snapped into place like a rifle bolt sliding home. His breathing slowed. His vision sharpened. His right hand moved toward his hip before he remembered he wasn't carrying. Titan. The dog didn't acknowledge him. His ears were pitched forward, rigid as knife points. His nose hovered inches above the snow. Marcus had seen this posture before. In Afghanistan, when Titan found the IED that would have killed 6 men. In Syria, when the dog located a weapons cache buried under a schoolyard. In a dozen nightmare places where the wrong step meant death. Titan was alerting. "What do you have, boy?" The dog's response was immediate and terrifying. He lunged forward and began digging with violent intensity, snow spraying in wide arcs, his movements desperate in a way Marcus had never witnessed. Marcus ran toward him. "Titan! Titan, what is it?" The dog didn't stop. His paws tore through the surface layer into the packed ice beneath, claws scraping, breath coming in sharp clouds. A high whine built in his throat, the sound of urgency, of warning, of something that couldn't wait. Marcus dropped to his knees beside the dog. The cold soaked through his uniform pants instantly, biting into his skin, but he barely registered it. He pulled his folding shovel from his pack and started digging alongside Titan. "Easy, boy, easy. Show me." The snow was wrong. He felt it immediately. The top layer was fresh powder, soft and light, but underneath, compacted, disturbed. Someone had been here recently. Someone had moved this ground. Titan's paw struck something solid. The dog froze. Then, with agonizing care, he began to scrape instead of dig. Gentle now, precise. Marcus's hand shook as he brushed away the last layer of snow. Fabric. Dark fabric. A shoulder. "No," he breathed. "No, no, no." He dug faster. The shape emerged piece by piece. An arm. A collar. A neck covered in frost. Then a face. Female. Young. Maybe early 30s. Dark hair frozen to her cheeks. Skin the color of candle wax. Eyes closed. Lips blue. Dead, Marcus thought. His chest constricted. She's dead. But Titan was still whining, still pawing at the ground near her hand. The dog pressed his nose against her palm and held it there, breath fogging against frozen skin. Marcus reached for her neck to check for a pulse he knew wouldn't be there. Her finger moved. He yanked his hand back like he'd touched fire. Jesus Christ! It happened again. A twitch. Weak, barely perceptible, but real. She was alive. "Hold on," Marcus said, his voice cracking. "Hold on, I've got you." He tore off his jacket and wrapped it around her body. She was half buried, positioned face up, like someone had laid her there deliberately. No accident. No fall. She'd been placed in this ground and covered. Buried alive. Marcus worked faster than he'd ever worked in combat. He cleared the snow from her chest, her legs, her feet. She was wearing a suit. Dark blazer, white shirt, dress pants. No coat, no gloves. Someone had stripped her of anything that might keep her warm. They wanted her to die slowly, he realized. They wanted the cold to take her. His hands found something metal against her chest. He pulled it free, and his blood went cold. An FBI badge. Special Agent Elena Reyes, Denver Field Office. "What the hell?" Marcus whispered. Titan barked once, sharp and urgent. The dog's eyes were fixed on the tree line, ears flat against his skull. Marcus followed his gaze. Nothing moved. The forest was silent, still, but Titan's hackles were raised in a ridge along his spine. Someone was watching. "We have to move." Marcus lifted Elena from the snow. She weighed almost nothing. Dehydration, hypothermia, whatever they'd done to her before this. Her head lolled against his shoulder. A sound escaped her lips. Not words, not quite, but close. "Stay with me," Marcus said. "Stay with me, Agent Reyes. I'm going to get you warm." He started back toward the cabin at a pace just short of running. Titan flanked him, occasionally glancing back, hackles still raised. The dog knew. Something was wrong with this forest. Something was wrong with this whole situation. FBI agents didn't end up buried in snow in the middle of nowhere by accident. Marcus's mind raced through possibilities. Witness protection gone wrong. Undercover operation compromised. Kidnapping. Execution attempt. None of it explained why she was here, why his mountain, why his road, why Titan had found her. The cabin came into view through the trees. Marcus kicked the door open and carried Elena straight to the couch. He grabbed every blanket he owned and piled them over her body, built the fire higher, filled the kettle. Her lips were still blue. Her breathing was shallow, barely visible. Marcus had seen men die from hypothermia in the mountains of Afghanistan. He knew the stages. She was deep into stage 2, maybe pushing stage 3. Her body was shutting down to preserve core temperature. If he didn't warm her properly, she'd go into cardiac arrest. "Come on," he muttered, rubbing her hands between his palms. "Come on, don't do this." Titan lay down beside the couch, his head resting near Elena's hand. The dog's eyes never left her face. 20 minutes passed. 30. The fire crackled. The kettle whistled, and Marcus made hot water bottles, tucking them against her neck, her armpits, her stomach. He talked to her constantly. His name, where she was, that she was safe, that help was coming. He didn't know if help was coming. Cell service was non-existent up here. His satellite phone was buried in a box somewhere, deliberately forgotten, because he hadn't wanted to be reached. Another 20 minutes. Elena's color began to return, faint pink beneath the pallor. Her breathing deepened. Then her eyes opened. Marcus leaned forward.
"Agent Reyes, can you hear me?" Her gaze was unfocused, swimming. She tried to speak and only managed to croak. "Don't talk yet. You're safe. I found you in the snow. You're at my cabin. I'm Marcus Cole, former Navy SEAL. You're going to be okay."
Elena's hand shot out and grabbed his wrist with surprising strength. Her eyes locked onto his face, suddenly sharp with terror.
"They're coming,"
she whispered. The words hit Marcus like a punch to the chest.
Who's coming?"
"Don't trust," she coughed, her whole body shaking. "Don't trust anyone. Badge means nothing. They're inside. They're inside everything." "Inside what? Agent Reyes, I need you to focus. What happened to you?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. Her grip tightened on his wrist until her knuckles went white. "He killed them," she breathed. "My partner. The witnesses. All of them. And when I found out," her voice broke, "they buried me like I was already dead."
"Who?
"Give me a name." Elena's eyes rolled back. Her body went limp. She'd lost consciousness again. Marcus sat back, heart hammering. Titan was on his feet, staring at the door. A low growl built in his throat. Marcus heard it then. An engine. Distant but approaching. Vehicle coming up the service road. He moved to the window and peered through a gap in the curtains. A black SUV was crawling up the mountain, headlights cutting through the falling snow. No one came up here. Not in winter. Not without reason. Marcus looked at the unconscious woman on his couch. Looked at the FBI badge still clutched in his hand. Looked at Titan, teeth bared, ready to fight. They found her, he thought. They came to finish the job. The SUV stopped 50 yards from the cabin. Two figures emerged. Dark coats, tactical boots. The posture of men who knew how to handle themselves. One of them pulled something from his pocket and spoke into it. A radio. Calling someone. Marcus didn't wait to find out who. He crossed to his closet and pulled out the lockbox he'd told himself he wouldn't open. Inside was his service pistol, 3 magazines, and a hunting rifle he'd bought when he first arrived. He'd wanted to believe he wouldn't need them. He'd been wrong about a lot of things lately. "Stay," he told Titan quietly. "Guard." The dog positioned himself between Elena and the door, eyes locked on the entrance. Marcus chambered around and moved toward the back of the cabin. There was a root cellar beneath the kitchen floor, accessible through a hatch hidden under a rug. He'd found it his first week here, noted it as a tactical asset, then forgotten about it. Now it might save their lives. He dragged Elena from the couch, blankets and all, and lowered her through the hatch as gently as he could. She moaned, but didn't wake. He whistled once, low, and Titan dropped into the cellar after her. Marcus covered the hatch, replaced the rug, and positioned himself behind the heavy oak door frame, where he could see anyone who entered. The knock came 30 seconds later, firm, official. "Mr. Cole? This is Agent Thomas Reed, FBI. We received a distress signal from this location. We're here to assist." Marcus didn't move, didn't breathe. "Mr. Cole, we know you're in there. Your vehicle is outside. Please open the door. We're only here to help." The voice was calm, reasonable, friendly. Everything a real FBI agent should sound like. But Elena's words echoed in his mind. Don't trust anyone. Badge means nothing. They're inside. He waited. A full minute passed. Then, hushed conversation outside, too quiet to make out. Then the door exploded inward. Marcus fired twice before the first man cleared the threshold. The shots took him center mass and sent him spinning back into the snow. The second man dove left, rolling behind the couch, returning fire blindly. The cabin filled with noise, gunshots, splintering wood, shouting. Marcus moved on instinct, 15 years of close-quarters combat taking over. He flanked right, used the kitchen island for cover, waited for the muzzle flash. When it came, he put 2 rounds through the couch fabric. The second man screamed and stopped shooting. Silence. Marcus cleared the room methodically. First man dead, 2 holes in his chest. Second man alive, but bleeding heavily. Pistol fallen 3 feet from his hand. Marcus kicked the weapon away and knelt beside him. "Who sent you?" The man laughed. Blood bubbled at his lips. "You have no idea what you've stepped into, SEAL." "Enlighten me." "She was supposed to die. Quick, clean, buried in snow. Nobody would have found her until spring." The man coughed, spraying red across his chin. "But you had to play hero." "Who sent you?" "Doesn't matter. There's more coming." "There's always more." His eyes unfocused. "You should have let her freeze. Would have been easier for everyone." He stopped breathing. Marcus stood slowly. His hands were steady. His heart was calm. This was the part he knew. This was the part that made sense. It was everything else that didn't. He pulled back the rug and opened the hatch. Titan's eyes glowed up at him from the darkness, alert and ready. "Clear," Marcus said. He climbed down and found Elena stirring. Her eyes fluttered open, focused on the pistol in his hand, then moved to his face. "You killed them," she whispered. Not a question. They weren't going to ask nicely. I told you they'd come." Marcus knelt beside her. "Agent Reyes, I need you to tell me everything. Who you are, What you were investigating. Why someone wants you dead badly enough to send a kill team to my mountain. Elena's jaw tightened. For a moment she looked like she might refuse. Then something in her expression broke. Exhaustion, maybe. Or the simple reality that she had no one else. 3 months ago, she said, I was assigned to investigate a human trafficking operation. Women and girls being moved through the Pacific Northwest. Logging camps, fishing boats, rural areas where nobody asks questions. Standard organized crime? That's what we thought, until I found out who was protecting them. Marcus waited. Elena's voice dropped to barely a whisper. The protection goes all the way up. FBI, Homeland Security, maybe military. I found encrypted communications between my deputy director and someone using a naval command frequency. Marcus felt the floor shift beneath him. Naval? Someone with high-level access. Someone who could make evidence disappear. Someone who ordered my partner killed when we got too close. Your deputy director. You're sure? Nathan Cross. I have proof. Had proof. They took everything when they grabbed me. Files, laptop, phone. But the original evidence is still out there. I hid it before they caught me. Where? Elena hesitated. Her eyes searched his face, looking for something she could trust. My partner's widow, she finally said. Rachel Vance. I sent her a package before everything went wrong. Told her not to open it unless something happened to me. If she followed instructions, she still has it. Where does she live? Seattle. Beacon Hill neighborhood. 2847 Maple Street. Marcus committed the address to memory. Can you travel? I don't have a choice, do I? No, you don't. He helped her sit up against the cellar wall. Those two were just advanced scouts. More will come. We need to move before they call in reinforcements. Where can we go? Cross has resources everywhere. FBI, local police, private contractors. He'll have all of them looking. Then we go where badges don't matter. Marcus met her eyes. I still have friends, brothers who served with me, men who don't ask questions when one of their own needs help. You're risking everything. You don't even know me. I know you were buried alive and left to die. I know someone wearing our country's badges did that to you. His jaw tightened. That's enough. Titan moved closer to Elena, pressing his warm body against her side. The dog had made his choice too. Elena reached down and rested her hand on Titan's head. Her fingers trembled. I can't promise we'll survive this, she said quietly. I've survived worse. Have you? Marcus thought about Afghanistan, about the night his convoy was ambushed, and he held his best friend's hand while he bled out in the sand. About the months afterward, when he couldn't close his eyes without seeing it again. Yeah, he said, I have. He climbed out of the cellar and quickly gathered supplies: food, water, first aid kit, ammunition. He pulled the bodies outside and covered them with snow. Not ideal, but it would buy time. When he returned, Elena was standing. Barely. Titan hovered beside her, ready to catch her if she fell. We'll take the back trail, Marcus said. Comes out on a Forest Service road 3 miles east. I've got a contact in Portland who can get us transport. And then? Seattle. We find Rachel Vance. We get that evidence. And then? He paused. Then we find out exactly how deep this goes. Elena nodded once. Her face was pale, exhausted, terrified. But underneath all of it, Marcus saw something else. Determination. The same look he'd seen in soldiers who'd been knocked down and refused to stay down. One condition, she said. Name it. When we find Nathan Cross, when we have enough to bring him down, I want to be the one who puts the cuffs on him. Marcus almost smiled. Deal. They moved out into the falling snow, Titan leading the way, Two strangers bound together by violence and secrets, and the simple human need to see justice done. Behind them, the cabin sat silent and dark. Ahead, the mountain waited. And somewhere in the distance, Nathan Cross was already making his next move. The back trail dropped steeply through frozen pines. Marcus moved first, breaking a path through knee-deep snow, while Elena struggled to keep pace behind him. Titan ranged between them, circling back every few minutes to check on Elena before pushing forward again. "How much farther?" Elena's voice was strained, her breath coming in sharp gasps. "2 more miles to the service road." "I don't know if I can make 2 miles." Marcus stopped and turned. Elena was leaning against a tree trunk, one hand pressed to her ribs. Her face had gone gray. "What's wrong?" "Nothing. Keep moving." "Elena." She met his eyes. Something flickered there. Pride, maybe, or the desperate need to appear stronger than she was. "They broke 2 ribs when they grabbed me," she admitted. "Maybe 3. Hurts to breathe." Marcus crossed back to her in 3 strides. "Why didn't you say something?" "Because it doesn't change anything. We still have to move." He studied her face, the set of her jaw, the way she held herself despite the pain. "You're right," he said. "It doesn't change anything. But lean on me when you need to. Pride won't keep you alive out here." Elena's expression shifted. Surprise, then something softer. "You're not what I expected." "What did you expect?" "Someone who'd leave me behind when I slowed him down." Marcus offered his arm. "I don't leave people behind. Ever." She took it. They moved slower now, Elena's weight against his shoulder, but they moved. The snow kept falling, the cold kept biting, and somewhere behind them, Marcus knew, more hunters were coming. Titan stopped suddenly, ears swiveling. Marcus froze. "What is it, boy?" The dog's nose lifted, testing the air. A low growl rumbled in his chest. Then Marcus heard it, the distant thump of helicopter rotors. "Down!" he hissed. They dropped into a shallow depression between 2 fallen logs. Marcus pulled Elena against him and covered them both with the emergency blanket from his pack. Silver side down, white side up, invisible against the snow. The helicopter passed overhead, searchlights sweeping the forest in wide arcs. Marcus counted the seconds. 1, 2, 3. The light brushed within 10 feet of their position. Elena's hand found his in the darkness. Her fingers were ice cold and trembling. The helicopter circled twice, then banked east and disappeared over the ridge. Marcus waited a full minute before moving. "That was fast. They're already running aerial search patterns." "Cross has access to everything. FBI resources, Homeland Security. If he's really working with someone in Naval Command, then he can pull military assets too." Marcus's jaw tightened. "We need to get off this mountain before dawn." They pushed forward. The terrain grew steeper, the snow deeper. Elena stumbled twice, caught herself, kept going. Marcus watched her fight through pain that would have dropped most people, and felt something shift in his chest. She was tough, tougher than she knew. "Tell me about your partner," he said. Elena's stride faltered. "What?" "The one they killed. Tell me about him." "Her. Agent Diane Vance. She was..." Elena's voice cracked. "She was the best agent I ever worked with. 15 years in the Bureau, 2 kids, husband who coached Little League." She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. "She figured it out before I did, the connection to Cross. She wanted to go to Internal Affairs." "What happened?" "I convinced her to wait, gather more evidence first, make sure we had an airtight case." Elena laughed bitterly. "I thought we had time. I thought we were being smart." "And?" 3 days later, someone ran her off the road outside Spokane. Made it look like an accident. Black ice, they said. Lost control of her vehicle. Elena's hands clenched into fists. There was no black ice. I checked the weather reports. It was 40 degrees that day. Marcus said nothing. Some things didn't need words. Her daughter found her, Elena continued. 13 years old. Came home from school and saw the news on television. Her mother's car wrapped around a guardrail. Jesus! That's when I knew I was next. So I copied everything, every file, every email, every piece of evidence, and sent it to Diane's widow, Rachel. Told her to hide it somewhere safe. Elena's voice dropped. Then I ran. But they caught you. They were waiting at my apartment. 4 men. Professional. They knew exactly when I'd be there, exactly what route I'd take.
She touched her ribs unconsciously. They asked me where the evidence was. I wouldn't tell them. So they decided to make me disappear.
The burial. They drugged me. When I woke up, I was in the back of a van. Couldn't move, couldn't scream. They drove for hours. Then they carried me into the woods, put me in that hole, and started shoveling snow on top of me. Her voice had gone flat, mechanical. The voice of someone describing a nightmare they couldn't escape.
I heard them talking while they buried me, laughing.
One of them said the cold would take me in a few hours. Said by spring, animals would have scattered my bones so far nobody would ever find all of me. Titan pressed against her leg. Elena reached down and rested her hand on his head. But they didn't count on your dog. No, Marcus agreed. They didn't. They reached the service road as the first gray light of dawn touched the eastern peaks. Marcus's contact, a former Marine named Davis, who asked no questions and expected no explanations, was waiting in a battered pickup truck. Cole, Davis nodded once through the open window. Heard you might need a ride. You heard right. Davis's eyes moved to Elena, then to the pistol still visible at Marcus's hip. His expression didn't change. Climbing back. There's blankets under the tarp. Marcus helped Elena into the truck bed and covered her with heavy canvas. Titan jumped up beside her, settling his body against hers for warmth. Where to? Davis asked, as Marcus climbed into the passenger seat. Portland. I need to see Vasquez. Vasquez moved. Seattle now. Runs a garage in the industrial district. Then Seattle. Davis put the truck in gear. You want to tell me what kind of trouble you're in? No. That bad? Worse. Davis nodded slowly. All right then. Seattle it is. They drove in silence for 2 hours, winding down mountain roads that grew gradually wider and busier. Marcus watched every vehicle that passed, every car that lingered too long in the rearview mirror. Old habits. The kind you couldn't shake even when you tried. His phone buzzed. A text from a number he didn't recognize. We know she's with you. We know where you're going. Turn around now, and this ends clean. Keep running, and everyone you love pays the price. Marcus stared at the screen.
Problem? Davis asked. They have my number, which means they have my file, which means they know everything about you. Yeah. Marcus deleted the message. They know everything. So what's the play? Marcus thought about the cabin, the bodies he'd left in the snow, the helicopter searching the mountain. The play is, we get to Seattle before they do. We find the evidence. We blow this whole thing open. And if they get there first? Marcus's jaw tightened. Then we improvise. They stopped once for gas at a station outside Olympia. Elena used the restroom while Marcus stood watch by the truck, scanning every face that passed. A family pulled up in a minivan. 2 kids in the back, fighting over a tablet. A mother looking exhausted. A father pumping gas, with the blank expression of a man running on caffeine and obligation. Normal life. The kind Marcus had stopped believing in years ago.
Elena emerged from the restroom looking steadier. Some color had returned to her face. "I called Rachel," she said quietly. Marcus spun toward her. "You did what?" "I used the payphone. Untraceable. I had to warn her they might be coming." "What did she say?" "She has the package. She never opened it, but she said—" Elena hesitated. "She said someone's been watching her house. A car parked across the street. Same car every day for the past week." "They're already on her." "We have to move faster." Marcus grabbed her arm. Not hard, but urgent. "If they're watching Rachel, they'll see us coming. We can't just walk up to her front door." "Then we don't use the front door." Elena's eyes were sharp now, focused. The FBI agent emerging from behind the trauma. Rachel's husband was a firefighter. Their house backs up to an empty lot. There's a gap in the fence their kids used to sneak through. "You know this because Diane was my partner for 3 years. I had dinner at that house every Sunday." Elena's voice caught. "I was there when her daughter took her first steps. I was there when her son won his first spelling bee. She stopped, swallowed hard. "I was supposed to protect her. Diane. I was supposed to have her back." Marcus released her arm. "You can't protect everyone." "That's not good enough." "No, it isn't. But it's the truth." He met her eyes. "Right now, the best thing we can do for Diane is finish what she started. Get the evidence. Bring down the people who killed her." Elena nodded once, wiped her eyes, squared her shoulders. "Then let's go." They reached Seattle as afternoon shadows lengthened across the city. Davis dropped them 3 blocks from Vasquez's garage, with a handshake and a warning. "Whatever this is, Cole, be careful. I've seen that look in men's eyes before. The ones who think they're already dead. Don't prove them right." "I'll do my best." "You always did." Davis drove away without looking back. Vasquez's garage was a concrete block building wedged between a welding shop and an abandoned warehouse. The sign out front read, "Vasquez Auto Repair," in faded red letters. The sign lied. Vasquez hadn't fixed a car in years. What he fixed was people. New identities, clean weapons, transportation that couldn't be traced. Marcus pushed through the door with Titan at his heels. A massive man looked up from behind the counter. Dark skin, shaved head, arms covered in tattoos that told the story of 2 decades in special operations. His eyes found Marcus and widened. "Cole, I'll be damned." "Been a while, Vasquez." 5 years. Vasquez came around the counter and clasped Marcus's hand. "Heard you got out. Heard it wasn't pretty." "It wasn't. And now you're in my shop with a woman who looks like she went 10 rounds with a grizzly and a dog I'm pretty sure could rip my throat out if he wanted to." Vasquez's gaze moved to Elena, then back to Marcus. "You want to tell me what's going on?" Marcus told him. All of it. The burial, the FBI badge, the kill team, the evidence hidden with a dead agent's widow. Vasquez listened without interrupting. When Marcus finished, the big man let out a long breath. "FBI, Homeland Security, maybe Navy." He shook his head. "You really know how to pick your enemies." "I didn't pick them. They picked me." "Fair enough." Vasquez moved to a cabinet and pulled out a set of keys. "I've got a vehicle that's clean. Plates won't trace back to anything. There's gear in the back. Vests, weapons, comms. I can't pay you for this." "Did I ask for money?" Vasquez's expression hardened. "You pulled my ass out of Fallujah when everyone else left me for dead. This isn't payment, Cole. This is family." Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. If half of what you said is true, you're walking into a meat grinder." Vasquez handed him the keys. "The address for Rachel Vance. What is it?" 2847 Maple Street, Beacon Hill. Vasquez typed something into his phone. A moment later, it buzzed with a response. "I've got a guy in that neighborhood. Says there's definitely surveillance on the house. 1 vehicle, 2 occupants, trading shifts every 8 hours. Can your guy create a distraction?" "What kind of distraction?" Marcus thought for a moment. "Something that pulls them away from the house for 10 minutes. That's all I need." "I'll make it happen. Give me 90 minutes to set it up." Elena stepped forward. "What about getting inside? Rachel might not even answer the door for strangers." "She'll answer for you?" "She might, if I can get close enough for her to see my face." Elena's voice was uncertain. We weren't close after Diane died. I think she blamed me. Maybe she was right to." "She wasn't right." Marcus's voice was firm. "You didn't kill Diane. Cross did. And we're going to make sure he pays for it." They waited in a back room of the garage while Vasquez made calls. Elena sat on a crate with Titan's head in her lap, her fingers moving through his fur in slow, rhythmic strokes. "He likes you," Marcus said. "He saved my life." "He does that." Marcus sat down across from her.
I got him when he was 2 years old, fresh out of military working dog training. They said he was too aggressive, unpredictable. They were going to wash him out.
"What happened?"
I asked for him. Nobody else wanted to work with him, so they figured, why not? Let the new guy handle the problem dog.
Marcus smiled at the memory.
"First day we met, he bit me, drew blood. The trainers wanted to put him down right there."
"But you didn't let them."
"I told them to give me a week.
1 week to earn his trust." Marcus's eyes met Titan's across the room. "Took 3 days. Once he decided I was his, that was it. Nothing could break that bond." Elena looked down at the dog.
How many deployments?"
4 together. Afghanistan twice, Syria, Iraq. He's found more explosives than any dog in unit history. Saved my life at least 3 times that I know of. Probably more times I don't.
And now he saves strangers buried in the snow.
Now he does that too. Marcus paused.
He knew Elena before he started digging. He knew someone was down there. I've worked with him long enough to read his signals.
This wasn't a maybe. This was certainty.
"Do you believe in fate?"
The question surprised him. "I don't know. I believe in Titan. I believe he found you for a reason. Whether that's fate or luck or something else," he shrugged. "Does it matter?"
"Maybe not."
Elena's hand stilled on Titan's fur.
"When I was in that hole, covered in snow, I could feel myself dying."
Slowly, inch by inch, my body shutting down. And I thought, this is it. This is how it ends. Alone in the dark with nobody knowing where I am.
"But you didn't give up."
I wanted to. God, I wanted to. It would have been so easy to just let go. She looked up at him. But I kept thinking about Diane, about her kids, about the women and girls still being trafficked because people like Cross protect the monsters. I couldn't let them win.
"So you held on."
I tapped against the frozen ground, over and over. I don't even know why. Nobody could hear me. Nobody was coming. But I couldn't stop. Her voice broke. "And then your dog started digging." Titan lifted his head and licked her hand once. "He heard you," Marcus said quietly. "Through 2 feet of snow and frozen earth. He heard you." Elena pressed her face against Titan's neck. Her shoulders shook. Marcus gave her the moment. Some things needed to be felt before they could be survived. Vasquez appeared in the doorway. "It's set. My guy will create a disturbance at the corner of Maple and 23rd in exactly 45 minutes. Should pull the surveillance team away for at least 10, maybe 15 minutes. "That's our window," Marcus stood. "Elena?" She wiped her face and rose to her feet.
"I'm ready."
"You sure?"
"No."
She met his eyes. but I'm going anyway. They loaded into the clean vehicle, a nondescript gray sedan that blended with every other car on Seattle's streets. Titan settled in the back seat, alert and watchful. Marcus drove while Elena navigated. The city passed in a blur of traffic lights and pedestrians, and the ordinary business of people who had no idea what was happening in the shadows around them. "Turn left here," Elena said. "Her street is 2 blocks up." Marcus spotted the surveillance vehicle immediately. Black SUV. Tinted windows, parked 40 yards from the house. 2 figures visible through the windshield. "That's them." "How long until the distraction?" Marcus checked the time. 12 minutes. They parked around the corner and waited. The minutes stretched like hours. Marcus's hands rested on the steering wheel, steady and calm. Inside, every nerve was firing. "What if she won't help us?" Elena's voice was barely above a whisper.
What if she blames me so much she turns us away?
"Then we find another way."
There might not be another way. That evidence is the only thing that can bring Cross down.
"Elena," Marcus turned to face her. "We're going to get that evidence. We're going to expose everyone involved. And we're going to make sure Diane's death means something. I promise you that."
You can't promise.
"I can, and I am." Something passed between them,
A connection forged in desperation and survival,
and the shared understanding of people who had nothing left to lose. A distant bang echoed through the neighborhood, then shouting. Car alarms. The surveillance SUV's doors flew open. Both men jumped out and ran toward the commotion. "Now," Marcus said. They moved fast, cutting through the empty lot behind Rachel's house. The gap in the fence was exactly where Elena said it would be, a space just wide enough for them to squeeze through.
The back door was locked.
Marcus picked it in 30 seconds. They slipped inside. The house was quiet, dark, the smell of stale coffee and old grief.
Rachel,
Elena called softly.
it's Elena Reyes. Please don't be scared. I need your help.
A sound from upstairs, footsteps. Then a woman appeared at the top of the stairs. Late 30s, dark circles under her eyes, a kitchen knife clutched in her shaking hand.
Get out of my house. Rachel, please. I said get out.
The knife trembled. They killed my wife because of you, because of your investigation. And now you come here? I know, and I'm so sorry. Elena's voice cracked. But the men who killed Diane? They tried to kill me too. They buried me alive, left me to die. Rachel's expression flickered. What? It's true. I would be dead right now if it weren't for this man and his dog. They're the only reason I'm standing here. Elena took a careful step forward. I know you hate me. You have every right to. But the evidence I sent you, it can bring down the people who murdered Diane. It can stop them from hurting anyone else. Silence. The knife still raised. Please, Elena whispered. Help me finish what Diane started. The knife lowered slowly. Rachel's face crumpled. It's in the basement, she said. Behind the water heater. I never opened it. I couldn't. Elena moved toward the stairs. Marcus stopped her. I'll get it. You stay with Rachel. He descended into the basement. Dark and cold, the smell of damp concrete. The water heater stood in the corner, ancient and rusted. Behind it, wedged into a gap in the wall, was a manila envelope. Marcus grabbed it and turned. A figure blocked the stairs. Male, tactical gear, pistol raised. Hello, Cole. Marcus recognized the voice before he saw the face. Vincent Drake, former Navy SEAL, the man he'd served with for 6 years, the man who'd become something else entirely. Vincent! You should have stayed on that mountain. Drake's gun didn't waver. Now hand over the envelope. And maybe I'll let your friends upstairs live." Marcus didn't move. The envelope felt heavy in his hand, heavier than paper and photographs should feel. 6 years of brotherhood stood between him and Vincent Drake. 6 years of shared blood, shared missions, shared nightmares. All of it meant nothing now. "You were dead," Marcus said quietly. "Kandahar. The ambush. I saw you go down. You saw what they wanted you to see." Drake's smile was cold, empty of anything human. Amazing what the right people can arrange when they need a ghost. Why? Why what? Why fake my death? Why work for Cross? Drake laughed, and the sound echoed off the basement walls like something broken. Because the war never ended, Cole. It just changed addresses. And the pay is better on this side. You're trafficking women, children. You're protecting monsters. I'm surviving, something you never learned how to do. Drake's gun stayed level with Marcus's chest. The envelope. Now. Last warning. Marcus calculated the distance. 8 feet. Drake's finger was on the trigger, not beside it. A headshot would drop him before he could fire. But Marcus's weapon was holstered. He'd never clear leather in time. You know I can't do that. Then you know what happens next. Yeah. Marcus's voice was steady. I do. He threw the envelope. Not at Drake. Past him. Up the stairs. Drake's eyes tracked the movement for half a second. Instinct. Training. The mistake that killed men in combat. Marcus moved. He closed the distance in 2 steps, driving his shoulder into Drake's midsection before the gun could come back around. They hit the stairs hard, Drake's back slamming against the wooden edges. The pistol fired once, the shot going wide, punching through the ceiling. Upstairs, Rachel screamed. Marcus grabbed Drake's gun hand and twisted. Bones ground against each other. Drake snarled and drove his knee up, catching Marcus in the ribs. Pain exploded through his side. They rolled down the remaining stairs, tangled together, each fighting for control of the weapon. Drake was younger, faster, trained by the same instructors who'd trained Marcus. Every move had a counter. Every strike met resistance. The gun fired again. Concrete chips sprayed Marcus's face. You can't win this, Drake hissed through clenched teeth. Cross has resources you can't imagine. Men everywhere. He'll burn down everyone you've ever known. Then I'll burn him first. Marcus slammed his forehead into Drake's nose. Cartilage crunched. Blood sprayed hot across both their faces. Drake's grip loosened for one critical moment. Marcus ripped the gun free and rolled away, coming up with the weapon trained on Drake's chest. Don't move. Drake lay on the concrete floor, blood streaming from his shattered nose, and laughed. Go ahead, pull the trigger. It won't change anything. It'll change you being alive. And then what? You think I'm the only one? Cross has 12 men like me, 100. You kill one, 2 more take his place. Drake pushed himself up on his elbows. You're fighting a war you already lost, Cole. You just don't know it yet. Footsteps pounded on the stairs. Titan appeared first, teeth bared, hackles raised. Elena came behind him, the envelope clutched to her chest. Marcus, are you... She saw Drake and froze. Oh, God. You know him? He was at my apartment the night they took me. Elena's voice shook with fury. He's the one who held me down while they drugged me. Drake's bloody smile widened. Hello again, Agent Reyes. You look better than the last time I saw you. Less blue. Elena's hand moved toward Marcus's holster. He stopped her. We need him alive. Why? He'll just... Because he knows things. Names, locations, The whole network. Marcus kept his eyes on Drake. And he's going to tell us everything. I'm not telling you anything. Yes, you are. Marcus stepped forward. Because the alternative is I let her have 5 minutes alone with you. And something tells me FBI interrogation techniques are the least of what she has planned. Drake's smile faltered. For the first time, something like fear flickered in his eyes. Cross will kill me if I talk. Cross isn't here. I am. Marcus crouched down, putting his face inches from Drake's. And I remember everything you taught me about making people talk. Want to test if I learned the lesson? Silence stretched between them. Drake's breath came faster. His eyes darted to Elena, to Titan, to the stairs. There's a warehouse, he finally said. South Seattle, Industrial District. That's where they hold them before transport. Hold who? The women, the girls, whoever they've grabbed that week. Drake's voice had gone flat, mechanical. Cross runs the operation through a shell company called Pacific Northwest Logistics. Ships them out through fishing boats, cargo containers. Different routes every time. How many? Right now? Maybe 30, 40. They've got a shipment going out tomorrow night. Elena made a sound like she'd been punched. 30 women? Being shipped out tomorrow? Midnight pickup. Container ship called the Northern Star. By the time anyone finds them, they'll be in international waters. Marcus's mind raced. Tomorrow night. Less than 30 hours. Where's Cross now? I don't know. He moves constantly. Different safe houses. Different... You're lying. I'm not. Nobody knows where Cross sleeps. That's how he stays alive. Marcus pressed the gun barrel against Drake's kneecap. Try again. I swear to God, I don't... 3 seconds. He has a place. A cabin, somewhere north. I don't know exactly where. Somewhere in the mountains. Marcus felt cold settle into his chest. The Cascades? Maybe. I don't know. I've never been there. But he goes there. When things get hot. When he needs to disappear. Drake's eyes were wild now, desperate. That's all I know. I'm telling you everything. Marcus stood slowly. His ribs throbbed where Drake had kneed him. His head pounded from the headbutt. But his hands were steady. Tie him up, he told Elena. We're taking him with us. Are you insane? He's our leverage. Cross won't move against us if we have one of his men. Cross will absolutely move against you. Drake's laugh was bitter, hopeless. You don't understand what you're dealing with. This isn't just trafficking. This is money. Billions of dollars. Politicians, businessmen, foreign governments, they all have a piece. They're not going to let some burned-out SEAL and a suspended FBI agent bring it down. Watch me. They bound Drake's hands with zip ties from Marcus's kit, gagged him with a strip of cloth. Titan stood guard, growling low whenever Drake moved. Rachel waited at the top of the stairs, face pale, arms wrapped around herself. I heard gunshots. I thought... We're okay. Elena touched her shoulder gently. But we need to leave, right now. They'll send more people when this one doesn't report in. Where am I supposed to go? Somewhere safe. Somewhere they can't find you. Elena pressed a piece of paper into Rachel's hand. This is a number. A friend of mine. U.S. Marshal. Call her. Tell her I sent you. She'll put you in protective custody. Rachel looked at the paper, then at Elena. Tears spilled down her cheeks. Diane believed in you, right up until the end. She said you were the only person she trusted to finish this. Elena's composure cracked. Rachel, finish it. For her, for all of them. Rachel pulled Elena into a fierce hug, and then make those bastards pay. They left through the back, Drake stumbling between Marcus and Elena, with Titan hurting him from behind. The surveillance team hadn't returned yet, but sirens wailed somewhere in the distance. Vasquez's sedan was where they'd left it. Marcus shoved Drake into the trunk and slammed it shut. "Now what?" Elena asked. "Now we make a choice." Marcus leaned against the car, exhaustion pulling at every muscle. "We can take the evidence to the media, go public, force an investigation. That takes time, weeks, maybe months. Those women don't have weeks." "I know." "So we do something else." Elena's jaw tightened. "We hit the warehouse, tonight. Free whoever's inside before Cross can ship them out." "That's insane. We don't know how many guards. We don't have backup. We have you. We have Titan. We have proof that Cross is guilty." Elena held up the envelope. "And we have until tomorrow night before 30 women disappear forever." "What would you do if it was your sister in that container? Your daughter?" Marcus closed his eyes. He saw the faces of people he'd failed to save. Teammates who died because he was too slow, too careful, too afraid. He opened his eyes. "We need weapons, more than what Vasquez gave us." "So we get weapons." "We need intel, actual layouts, guard rotations, entry points." "Then we find intel. And we need a plan for what happens after. Even if we free those women, Cross is still out there."
"He'll come for us. He'll come for them."
Elena smiled. It was fierce, reckless, and absolutely certain. "Then we don't stop at the warehouse. We find Cross. We end this."
"You're talking about taking on a network that spans the entire Pacific Northwest. Maybe the whole country."
"I'm talking about doing the job I swore an oath to do." Elena stepped closer to him.
"When I joined the FBI, I made a promise. To protect the innocent. To pursue justice no matter where it leads."
"I've broken a lot of things since then. But I haven't broken that." Marcus thought about his own oaths. The ones he'd made when he became a SEAL. Loyalty. Honor. Country. Somewhere along the way, he'd lost sight of what those words meant. Lost himself in the trauma and the nightmares and the endless gray fog of survival. But standing here, with this woman who'd been buried alive and refused to stay down, he felt something stir. Something that had been dormant for a long time. Purpose. "All right," he said. "We do this, but we do it smart. No suicide missions. No unnecessary risks." "Agreed. And if it goes wrong, if we get cornered, you run. You take the evidence and you run. Get it to someone who can use it."
"Marcus,
"Promise me." Elena held his gaze for a long moment.
I promise, if it comes to that."
It wouldn't come to that. Marcus would make sure of it. They drove to an industrial area near the port, abandoned buildings and empty lots stretching in every direction. Vasquez met them there with a van full of equipment, body armor, night vision, assault rifles, flashbangs.
"I called in some favors,"
Vasquez said as Marcus surveyed the gear.
"Some boys from the old unit. They're not happy about what's happening in their backyard."
"How many?"
6, plus me."
Vasquez grinned. "You didn't think I'd let you have all the fun. This isn't your fight." "Hell it isn't. I spent 20 years protecting this country from enemies overseas. You're telling me there's enemies right here, selling women and girls, protected by people wearing badges?" Vasquez's expression hardened. "That makes it everyone's fight." Marcus looked at the men assembling behind Vasquez. Former special operators, every one of them. Hard eyes, steady hands, the quiet competence of professionals who'd spent their lives in harm's way. Anyone who goes in might not come out. "Then we'll die doing something that matters." Vasquez clapped Marcus on the shoulder. "Better than dying in a hospital bed, wondering what the hell it was all for." They spent the next 4 hours preparing. Elena provided what intelligence she had from her original investigation. Drake, under considerable persuasion, filled in the gaps. The warehouse had 3 levels, approximately 15 guards,
multiple exit points. The women were kept in shipping containers on the ground floor. Marcus drew up the assault plan on a concrete floor, using pebbles and debris to mark positions. 2 teams, coordinated entry, suppressed weapons to maintain surprise as long as possible. "Titan and I take point," Marcus said. "He can clear rooms faster than any human. Elena, you're with Vasquez's team. Your job is getting those containers open."
"I want to be in the fight."
"You will be. But those women need someone they can trust. Someone who can tell them they're safe." Marcus met her eyes. "That's you." Elena nodded slowly. "Okay." "We move at 0200. That's 4 hours from now. Everyone get some rest. Eat something. Clear your heads." The men dispersed to corners of the warehouse, checking weapons, catching what sleep they could. Marcus found a spot near the loading dock and sat with his back against the wall. Titan lay down beside him, heavy head resting on Marcus's thigh. "One more mission, boy," Marcus murmured, scratching behind the dog's ears. "Just one more." Titan's tail thumped twice against the concrete. Elena appeared a few minutes later. She sat down on Marcus's other side, close enough that their shoulders touched. "I can't sleep," she said. "Neither can I." "Does it ever get easier? The waiting?" Marcus thought about all the missions he'd waited for, all the nights spent counting seconds until the shooting started. "No, it never gets easier. You just get better at hiding how hard it is." Elena was quiet for a moment. Then, "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "Why did you become a SEAL?" Marcus almost smiled. "My father was Navy. My grandfather was Navy. I didn't know anything else existed." "That's not really an answer." "No, it isn't." He was quiet for a long moment. "I wanted to be someone who mattered, someone who could make a difference. I grew up watching the news, seeing all the terrible things happening in the world, feeling helpless. I thought if I trained hard enough, if I became good enough at fighting, I could protect people from the worst of it. And I learned that the worst of it doesn't always wear a foreign uniform." Marcus's voice grew heavy. "Sometimes it sits in an office in Washington. Sometimes it has a badge and a title and the full authority of the government behind it. That's why you got out? That's why they made me get out. I started asking questions they didn't want answered. Started refusing orders that didn't make sense." He laughed bitterly. "Turns out there's no medal for having a conscience." Elena's hand found his in the darkness. Her fingers were warm, strong, certain. "There should be." They sat like that for a while, not speaking, just breathing. 2 broken people, holding each other up in the dark. At 0130, Marcus gathered the team for final preparations. Weapons checked. Comms tested. Body armor secured. "Everyone knows the plan," Marcus said. 15 guards, maybe more. Our priority is the civilians. Everything else is secondary. Questions?" Silence. "Then let's move." They loaded into 2 vehicles and drove through empty streets toward the port. The city slept around them, unaware that violence was coming to its darkest corners. The warehouse loomed ahead, a massive structure of corrugated metal and broken windows. Floodlights illuminated the perimeter. Armed men moved in predictable patterns. Marcus watched through binoculars, counting guards, timing rotations. South entrance is weakest. 2 men, 4-minute gap between patrols. "That's our in." Vasquez checked his weapon one final time. "On your signal." Marcus looked at Elena. She was pale, but composed. Body armor strapped tight, hands steady on her borrowed rifle. "Remember what I said. If it goes wrong—" "I run, I know." She met his eyes. "But it's not going to go wrong." Marcus wished he had her certainty. "Titan!" The dog's ears perked up instantly. "Heel!"
They moved through darkness like ghosts, 8 shadows converging on a building full of monsters. The south entrance came into view. 2 guards, smoking, laughing at something one of them had said. Marcus hand-signaled the team. Vasquez and 2 others broke left. The rest held position. The guards never saw them coming. 2 suppressed shots, barely louder than whispers, and both men dropped. Marcus hit the door first. Titan surged past him, a blur of black and tan in the darkness, moving toward the first hostile he could find. A guard stepped out of a side room. Titan hit him low, jaws clamping on his forearm, weight dragging him down. The man's scream was cut short when Marcus's boot connected with his temple. "Clear left," someone said over comms. "Clear right." "Ground floor secure. Moving to containers." Marcus led the way down a narrow corridor toward the warehouse floor. He could hear them now, muffled voices, crying, prayers in languages he didn't understand. The shipping containers stood in rows, padlocked, silent as coffins. Elena moved to the first one. Her hands trembled as she worked the bolt cutters on the lock. The door swung open. Eyes stared out from the darkness. Women, girls, huddled together in terror. Thin faces, bruised arms, the smell of fear and despair. "It's okay," Elena said, her voice breaking. "I'm FBI. We're here to help you. You're safe now." A young woman in the front, barely more than a teenager, burst into tears and collapsed against Elena's chest.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Elena held her tight, one hand smoothing her hair, tears streaming down her own face. "You're okay. It's over. It's over." But it wasn't over. The gunfire started from the second floor. "Contact!" Vasquez shouted over comms. "Multiple shooters, northeast stairwell." Marcus spun toward the sound. "Get them out, all of them, now!" He ran toward the stairs, Titan at his heels. Rounds cracked past his head. He returned fire, dropping one shooter, wounding another. More men poured from hidden positions. Cross had kept reserves. Cross had expected this. "It's a trap!" Marcus yelled. "Everyone out! Fall back to—" An explosion rocked the building. The floor buckled. Marcus lost his footing, hit the ground hard, ears ringing. Through the smoke and chaos, he saw a figure emerge from the flames. Nathan Cross, Deputy Director of the FBI, the man behind all of it. Cross smiled, and it was the smile of a predator watching prey finally cornered. "Hello, mister." "Cole, I've been looking forward to meeting you." Marcus pushed himself up from the ground, ignoring the blood running down the side of his face. His ears rang from the explosion. His vision swam. But he could see Cross clearly enough, standing 20 feet away with a pistol aimed at his chest. "You've caused me a great deal of trouble," Cross said. His voice was calm, conversational, like they were discussing the weather instead of murder. "A burned-out seal with a dog. I underestimated you." "People keep doing that." "They won't anymore," Cross gestured with the gun. "Where's the evidence? The files Elena sent to Rachel Vance?" "Gone. Uploaded to a dozen servers before we came here. By morning, every news outlet in the country will have it." Cross's smile didn't waver. "You're bluffing." "Am I?" Marcus coughed, tasted copper. "Check your phone. I'm sure your people are already calling." For the first time, uncertainty flickered in Cross's eyes. He pulled out his phone with his free hand, glanced at the screen. His expression changed. "You stupid, reckless—" Cross's composure cracked. "Do you have any idea what you've done? The people I work with, they don't forgive mistakes. They don't negotiate. They erase problems." "Good. Let them come. They'll kill everyone you've ever known. Your family, your friends, everyone who's ever—" "I don't have anyone left." Marcus's voice was flat, hard. They made sure of that a long time ago. But you know what I do have? Nothing to lose. And men with nothing to lose are the most dangerous kind. Titan emerged from the smoke behind Cross. The dog moved silently, body low, eyes fixed on the man who threatened his partner. Cross didn't see him. "Call off your men," Marcus said. "Let the women go. And maybe you walk out of here alive." "You're in no position to negotiate." "Neither are you." Cross laughed. "I have a gun pointed at your head, and I have a 100-pound German shepherd about to tear out your throat." Cross spun. Titan launched. The dog hit Cross like a missile, jaws clamping on his gun arm, weight driving him backward. The pistol fired wild, the shot punching through the ceiling. Cross screamed as Titan's teeth sank deep into muscle and tendon. Marcus was on him in seconds. He ripped the gun from Cross's weakened grip and drove his knee into the man's stomach. Cross doubled over, gasping. Titan released his arm and stood back, hackles raised, ready to strike again. "Stay down." Marcus pressed the barrel of Cross's own gun against his forehead. "One more move and I let him finish what he started." Cross looked up at him, blood streaming from the wounds on his arm, face twisted with pain and hatred. "You think this changes anything? I'm one man, one piece of a machine that's been running for decades. You can't stop it. You can't even slow it down. Watch me." Gunfire erupted from the far side of the warehouse. Vasquez's voice crackled over comms. "We're pinned down! Taking heavy fire from the north entrance!" Marcus grabbed Cross by the collar and hauled him to his feet. "You're going to call off your men, now." "Why would I do that?" "Because if you don't, I'm going to drag you out there and use you as a human shield. And something tells me your people aren't that careful about collateral damage." Cross's eyes darted toward the sound of gunfire. Calculation flickered behind the pain. "Fine." He pulled a radio from his belt with his uninjured hand. "All units, stand down. Repeat, stand down." Silence on the radio. Then, "Sir, confirm that order?" "I said stand down. Fall back to secondary positions." The gunfire slowed. Stopped. Marcus shoved Cross forward. "Move. We're walking out of here together." They emerged onto the warehouse floor. Elena had gotten most of the women out. Marcus could see them huddled near the south entrance, surrounded by Vasquez's team. Some were crying. Some were silent with shock. All of them were alive. Elena ran toward him when she saw Cross. "You got him!" "He's coming with us. Insurance." "Insurance?" Cross laughed bitterly. "I'm a federal official. The moment you leave this building with me, you become kidnappers. Terrorists. Every law enforcement agency in the country will hunt you." "They're already hunting us." Elena stepped close to Cross, her face inches from his. "You killed my partner. You buried me alive. You've been trafficking women and girls for years. Do you really think I care what they call me?" "Agent Reyes, don't." Elena's voice was ice. "Don't you dare say my name like we're colleagues, like we're on the same side. You're a monster wearing a badge, and I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure everyone knows it." Cross's expression hardened. "You'll never prove anything. The evidence you have, it's circumstantial at best. A good lawyer will tear it apart and 37 women. Elena cut him off. "That's how many we found in those containers. 37 witnesses who saw your men, who heard your name, who will testify about what was done to them." She smiled, and it was fierce, triumphant. "How's your lawyer going to explain that?" For the first time, real fear showed in Cross's eyes. Vasquez appeared at Marcus's shoulder. "We need to move. Local police are responding to shots fired. 5 minutes, maybe less." "The women?" "Transport's on the way. My people will get them somewhere safe. Marcus nodded. Take Cross. I want him secured in the van. With pleasure. Vasquez grabbed Cross roughly and started dragging him toward the exit. Cross twisted to look back at Marcus. This isn't over, Cole. You hear me? This will never be over. For you it is. Marcus turned away. Elena caught his arm. Marcus, are you okay?
Define okay. You're bleeding.
I bled before. He looked at her face, saw the exhaustion and the terror and the relief all mixed together. You did good tonight. Those women are alive because of you. They're alive because of you, because of Titan. Elena's voice cracked. Because you found me in the snow when anyone else would have walked past. Titan found you. I just followed. Don't do that. She gripped his arm tighter. Don't minimize what you did, what you're doing. You could have left me on that mountain. You could have handed me over to Cross and walked away. You had every reason to. No. Marcus's voice was soft, but absolute. I didn't. They stood there for a moment, two people holding each other up in the aftermath of violence. Then Titan barked once, sharp and urgent. Marcus spun. A figure was moving in the shadows near the containers, not one of Vasquez's men. Contact! Marcus raised his weapon. The figure stepped into the light. Female, young, one of the women from the containers. She was holding something in her hands, clutching it to her chest like a lifeline. Please, her accent was Eastern European. Please, you must see this. Elena moved toward her slowly. It's okay. You're safe now. What do you have? The woman held out a phone. Old, battered, cracked screen. I take this from one of the guards. Before. Her hands trembled. There are messages, names, everything. Elena took the phone, scrolled through the screen. Her face went pale. Marcus, you need to see this. He crossed to her side and looked at the phone. Text messages, encrypted, but not well. Names he recognized, names that made his blood run cold. Senator Morrison, Elena whispered. Chief Justice Hartman, the Deputy Secretary of Homeland Security. She looked up at Marcus. This goes higher than Cross. This goes all the way to... A gunshot cracked across the warehouse. Marcus felt the impact before he heard it. Fire exploded through his shoulder, spinning him sideways. He hit the ground hard, the phone flying from Elena's hands. Marcus! He looked up, vision blurring, and saw the shooter. One of Cross's men, wounded but not dead, propped against a shipping container with a rifle aimed at Elena's back. No! Titan moved faster than thought. The dog launched across the warehouse floor, paws barely touching ground, a blur of fury and protection. He hit the shooter just as the rifle fired again. The shot went high. Titan's jaws found the man's throat. It was over in seconds. Elena dropped to her knees beside Marcus. Don't move. Don't move. Let me see. Through and through. Marcus gritted his teeth against the pain. Missed the artery. I'm okay. You're not okay. You're shot. I've been shot before. He grabbed her hand with his good arm. The phone. Where's the phone? Elena scrambled across the floor and retrieved it. The screen was cracked worse now, but still functional. I've got it. It's still working. Good. Marcus pushed himself up, left arm hanging useless at his side. We need to get that to someone who can use it. Someone outside Cross's reach. There's no one. Don't you understand? If senators and justices are involved? There's someone. Marcus thought of a name he hadn't spoken in years. My old commanding officer, Admiral James Chen. He's retired now, but he still has connections. Clean connections. If anyone can get this to the right people, it's him. Can you trust him? With my life. He's the one who recommended me for the SEALs. Pulled strings when I got in trouble for asking too many questions. If Cross's network hasn't reached him, and I'm betting it hasn't, He's our best shot. Sirens wailed in the distance, closer now. We have to go. Elena helped Marcus to his feet. Can you walk? I can move. They ran for the south entrance. Vasquez had the van waiting, engine running. Cross was zip-tied in the back, guarded by two men with rifles. Jesus Christ! Vasquez saw the blood soaking Marcus's shirt. What happened? Later. Get us out of here. The van lurched forward, just as police cars appeared at the end of the street. Vasquez floored it, taking corners at dangerous speeds, weaving through industrial lots until the sirens faded behind them. In the back of the van, Marcus leaned against the wall and tried to control his breathing. The pain was bad, but manageable. He'd survived worse. Elena worked on his shoulder with supplies from the first aid kit. The bullet went clean through. No major damage, but you're losing blood. We need to get you to a hospital. No hospitals. They'll be watching. Marcus, I know a guy. Combat medic. Lives off the grid. Owes me a favor. He gave Vasquez an address. Get us there. He'll patch me up. Cross laughed from his position on the floor. You're dying, Cole. You just don't know it yet. This whole thing is dying. By morning, my people will have spun this as a terrorist attack. You'll be the villains. I'll be the victim. Shut up. Elena's voice was cold. The 37 women you rescued? They'll disappear into the system, deported before they can testify. Their stories buried so deep, no one will ever... Titan's growl cut him off. The dog had positioned himself between Cross and the others, teeth bared, eyes locked on the bound man. Your dog doesn't like me, Cross tried to sound casual, but fear crept into his voice. What happens if he decides to finish what he started? That's up to him, Marcus met Titan's eyes. I've never been able to control what he does when he thinks someone's a threat. Cross went very quiet. They reached the combat medic's cabin an hour later. Jenkins was ex-army, paranoid as hell, living in a converted barn surrounded by motion sensors and tripwires. But he took one look at Marcus and went to work without asking questions. Through and through, Jenkins confirmed as he cleaned the wound. You're lucky. 2 inches lower and you'd be having this conversation with St. Peter. I'm not the religious type. Neither am I, but bullet wounds have a way of changing that. Elena sat in the corner, the phone clutched in her hands, scrolling through messages over and over like she couldn't believe what she was seeing. There's more here, she said quietly. Financial records, bank transfers, offshore accounts. She looked up. Marcus, this isn't just trafficking. They're laundering money for foreign governments. Hostile governments. This is espionage. That explains the Navy connection, Marcus said through gritted teeth as Jenkins stitched his wound. Cross had access to military intelligence. He's been selling it. To who? Does it matter? Whoever's paying. That's how these things work. He hissed as the needle pierced skin. The trafficking is just a revenue stream. The real product is information. Secrets. Cross had gone silent in the corner where they'd placed him. But Marcus could see him listening, calculating. You're starting to understand, Cross said finally. Good. Now maybe you'll realize why you can't win this. The people I work with, they're not criminals. They're architects. They've spent decades building this network. You think exposing one phone is going to bring it down? It's a start. It's a death sentence. For you, for her, for everyone who's helped you. Cross's voice dropped to something almost like pity. Walk away, Cole. Take your dog, take your girlfriend, and disappear. I can make that happen. I can give you new identities, enough money to start over anywhere in the world. You're offering us a deal? After everything you've done? I'm offering you survival, the only thing that matters. Marcus stood slowly, his shoulders screaming in protest. He walked to where Cross sat and crouched down to eye level. You want to know what matters to me? The look on that woman's face tonight. The one who handed Elena the phone. You know what she said to me before we left? She said thank you. In English, which she barely speaks.
She learned those words specifically so she could say them. Touching. She's 19 years old, from Ukraine. She was taken from her family 8 months ago, sold 3 times before ending up in your warehouse. Marcus's voice was quiet, controlled, more terrifying than if he'd been shouting. She told me she'd given up. She thought she was going to die in one of those containers, shipped across the ocean like cargo. And then we came through that door. What's your point?
My point is that she's alive. 37 women are alive because we didn't walk away, because we didn't calculate the odds or worry about what we might lose. Marcus stood up. You asked what matters to me? That matters. That's always going to matter more than anything you can offer. He turned away. Cross's voice followed him. You're a fool, Cole. A righteous, self-destructive fool. And fools always die. Maybe, but not tonight. Dawn was breaking by the time Jenkins finished his work. Marcus's shoulder was bandaged, his arm in a sling, his body pumped full of antibiotics and painkillers. Elena made contact with Admiral Chen through a secure channel Marcus had memorized years ago and never used. The conversation was brief, cryptic, but the Admiral understood. He wants to meet, Elena said, hanging up the burner phone. 12 hours from now. A location in Oregon he says you'll remember. Marcus knew the place. A safe house the Navy used during the Cold War, officially decommissioned. Unofficially, maintained for exactly these kinds of situations. Can we trust him? Elena asked. I trust him more than anyone else with stars on their shoulders. Marcus met her eyes. But trust isn't the same as safety. We need to be careful. They left Cross with Jenkins and 2 of Vasquez's men. The bound deputy director had gone silent, his face a mask of cold calculation. He's planning something, Elena said as they drove away. I can see it in his eyes. Let him plan. By the time he can act on anything, the evidence will be in hands he can't reach. I hope you're right. So do I. They drove through morning traffic, anonymous among thousands of commuters heading to jobs and schools and ordinary lives. Marcus watched them through the window and wondered if they had any idea what darkness moved beneath the surface of their world. Probably not. Most people didn't. Most people couldn't afford to. Marcus, Elena's voice pulled him back. Thank you. For what? For believing me. When I told you about Cross, about the network, about everything, you could have thought I was crazy, paranoid. You could have walked away. I told you, I don't leave people behind. It's more than that. She reached over and took his good hand. You gave me something I'd lost. Hope. The belief that maybe, just maybe, the good guys can still win. Marcus thought about all the missions that had gone wrong, all the times the good guys hadn't won, all the friends he'd buried, the innocents he'd failed to save, the nightmares that still woke him in the dark. I don't know if we'll win, he said honestly. This thing is bigger than us, bigger than anything I've ever faced. But I know we have to try, because if we don't, if we just give up, then they've already won. Elena squeezed his hand. Then we try. Together. Together. Titan shifted in the back seat, his heavy head resting on the center console between them. His dark eyes moved from Marcus to Elena and back again, watching, assessing, protecting. Marcus scratched behind the dog's ears. What do you think, boy? One more fight? Titan's tail thumped against the seat. I'll take that as a yes. They drove on toward Oregon, toward the Admiral, toward whatever came next. The sun rose higher, burning off the morning fog, turning the world bright and sharp and real. Behind them, the evidence sat in Elena's pocket. The names, the accounts, the proof of crimes that reached the highest levels of power. Ahead of them, the fight continued. And somewhere in a cabin in Washington state, Nathan Cross sat in the darkness and made his final move. The safe house sat at the end of a gravel road that hadn't seen maintenance in 20 years. Marcus recognized it immediately. The same building where he'd been debriefed after his first overseas deployment, back when he still believed the world divided neatly into good and evil. Admiral James Chen waited on the porch. 73 years old now, silver-haired, back still straight despite the years. His eyes found Marcus as the car pulled up, and something shifted in his expression. "You look like hell, Cole." "Feels like it too, sir." Chen's gaze moved to Elena, then to Titan, then to the bandaged shoulder visible beneath Marcus's jacket. "Inside. We don't have much time." The interior of the safe house was sparse but functional. A table, chairs, communications equipment that looked newer than the building. Chen had brought 2 men with him, younger, hard-eyed, the kind who didn't ask questions. "Show me what you have," Chen said. Elena handed over the phone. Chen scrolled through the messages, his face growing darker with each screen. "Senator Morrison," he muttered. "I served with his father. Decorated veteran. And his son does this?" "It's worse than that." Elena pulled out the manila envelope, the evidence she'd originally sent to Rachel Vance. "Cross has been selling classified intelligence for at least 5 years. Naval operations, troop movements, asset identities. People have died because of what he gave away." Chen set down the phone. His hands were trembling. "Do you understand what you're asking me to do? These people, they have friends everywhere. Judges, generals, cabinet members. If I move against them, then you might not survive it." Marcus met his old commander's eyes. "I know. I'm asking anyway. Why should I risk everything? My pension, my family, my life. Because it's the right thing to do." Marcus's voice was quiet but absolute. "Because you taught me that service means something. That the oath we take isn't just words. That when we see evil, we fight it. Even when fighting costs us everything." Chen was silent for a long moment. "I remember the day you came to me," he finally said. "Fresh out of BUD/S, eager to save the world. I told you then that the hardest battles aren't the ones with bullets. The hardest battles are the ones where you have to choose between what's safe and what's right." "I remember." "I didn't think you were listening." "I was always listening, sir, even when I didn't want to be." Chen picked up the phone again, studied the screen, made a decision. "I have contacts at the Department of Justice. Career prosecutors, not political appointees. People who still believe in the law." He looked at Marcus. "I'll make the calls, but you need to understand, once this starts, there's no stopping it, no going back. Your lives will never be the same." "Our lives were never going to be the same after this," Elena said. "At least this way, they mean something." Chen nodded slowly. "Give me 2 hours. Stay here, stay quiet, and for God's sake, don't answer the door for anyone but me." He left with his men. The safe house fell silent. Marcus sank into a chair, exhaustion finally catching up with him. His shoulder throbbed, his head pounded. Every muscle in his body screamed for rest. Elena sat across from him. "Do you think he'll do it?" "He'll do it. Chen's a lot of things, but he's not a coward." Marcus closed his eyes. "The question is whether it'll be enough. Whether the system is still capable of holding these people accountable. And if it isn't, then we find another way." Titan padded over and lay down at Marcus's feet. The dog's presence was warm, solid, grounding. Marcus reached down and rested his good hand on Titan's head. "He's exhausted," Elena said softly. "He's earned it." "So have you." Marcus opened his eyes. Elena was watching him with an expression he couldn't quite read. "What?" he asked. "I keep thinking about what would have happened if you hadn't been on that mountain. If Titan hadn't found me." She shook her head. "I'd be dead. Cross would still be operating. Those 37 women would be on a ship right now, heading toward lives I don't want to imagine." "Don't think about that." "I can't help it. The margins are so thin, Marcus. The difference between everything falling apart and everything coming together, it's nothing. A dog who decides to dig in a particular spot. A man who decides to follow him. It wasn't random." Marcus sat up straighter, ignoring the pain in his shoulder. "Titan knew. He always knows. I stopped trying to explain it years ago." "You believe in something bigger? Fate? Destiny? Whatever you want to call it?" "I believe in him." Marcus looked down at the dog. "I believe that some things happen because they're supposed to. Because there's a reason. Maybe that's faith. Maybe it's just hope dressed up in different clothes. But I believe it." Elena was quiet for a moment. Then she rose from her chair, crossed to where Marcus sat, and knelt in front of him. "I didn't thank you properly," she said. "For saving my life. For everything since." "You don't have to." "Yes, I do." She took his good hand in both of hers. "When they buried me, I made a promise to myself. I promised that, if I somehow survived, I would never waste another day. I would never let fear stop me from saying what needed to be said. Elena, I'm falling in love with you." The words came out steady, certain. "I know it's insane. I know we've known each other for 3 days. I know everything about this situation is wrong. But I look at you, and I see someone who could have walked away 100 times and didn't. Someone who fights for people he doesn't even know. Someone who—" Marcus kissed her. It wasn't planned. It wasn't elegant. It was two broken people finding something whole in each other. There in that forgotten safe house, while the world burned around them. When they finally pulled apart, Elena laughed. "That's not how I expected that to go." "Did you expect me to give a speech?" "Maybe. You seem like the speech type." "I'm really not." Marcus touched her face gently. "I don't know what happens next. I don't know if we survive this. But I know that finding you in that snow was the first thing that's made sense to me in years." "That's almost romantic." "I'm working on it." Titan's ears perked up suddenly. He rose to his feet, body tense, eyes fixed on the door. Marcus grabbed his weapon. "Someone's coming." They moved to defensive positions. Elena behind the table, Marcus beside the window. Titan between them and the entrance, hackles raised. A car pulled up outside. 1 vehicle, 2 occupants. The door opened. Admiral Chen stepped through, followed by a woman Marcus didn't recognize. 50s, dark hair streaked with gray, the sharp eyes of someone who'd spent decades prosecuting criminals. "This is Deputy Attorney General Patricia Walsh," Chen said. "She's seen the evidence. She's willing to act." Walsh stepped forward, her expression grim. "I've spent 30 years putting away people who thought they were above the law. I've never seen anything like what's on that phone." She looked at Elena. "Agent Reyes, your partner was one of the best investigators I ever worked with. I'm sorry I didn't protect her better." "You knew Diane?" "She came to me 6 months ago. Said she suspected corruption at the highest levels of the Bureau. Said she needed someone outside the normal channels." Walsh's jaw tightened. "I told her to gather more evidence, to be patient, to work through proper procedure, and they killed her." "Yes, they did." Walsh's voice hardened. "I won't make that mistake again. As of 2 hours ago, federal marshals have taken Nathan Cross into custody. He's being transported to a secure facility where no one in his network can reach him. Marcus felt something loosen in his chest. What about the others? The senators? The warrants are being prepared as we speak. By tomorrow morning, this will be the largest corruption case in American history. Walsh pulled out a folder and handed it to Elena. This is a preliminary immunity agreement for you and Mr. Cole. Full cooperation in exchange for protection and amnesty for any extra-legal actions taken during your investigation. Elena stared at the folder. You're offering us a deal? I'm offering you a chance to testify, to put these people away for the rest of their lives, to make sure what happened to Agent Vance never happens to anyone else. Walsh met her eyes. Take it. It's the best outcome you're going to get. Marcus looked at Elena. Your call. Elena opened the folder, read through the documents, signed her name at the bottom. I want to be there, she said. When Cross is sentenced, I want to look him in the eye and watch him realize it's over. That can be arranged. The next 6 months passed in a blur of depositions, hearings, and courtroom appearances. Marcus testified 3 times, telling the story of finding Elena in the snow, of the firefight at the cabin, of the warehouse raid. Each time he kept his voice steady and his eyes forward. Elena testified 7 times. She walked the jury through every piece of evidence, every connection, every death that Cross had ordered. When she described being buried alive, her voice never wavered, but Marcus saw her hands shake beneath the table. He reached over and took one. She didn't let go for the rest of her testimony. The verdicts came down one by one. Senator Morrison, guilty on 47 counts. Chief Justice Hartman, guilty on 32 counts. Deputy Secretary Williams, guilty on 61 counts. And Nathan Cross, guilty on 116 counts of conspiracy, trafficking, murder, and treason. Life without parole. No possibility of release. Ever. The day the sentence was announced, Elena stood outside the courthouse with Marcus and Titan. Reporters swarmed around them, but neither spoke. There was nothing left to say that the evidence hadn't already said. Rachel Vance found them in the crowd. She was crying. Diane would have loved this, she said, seeing them all go down, knowing it mattered. It mattered because of her. Elena hugged her tightly. Everything started with what she found. She's the hero of this story, not me. You're both heroes. Rachel pulled back and looked at Marcus. Both of you. And that ridiculous dog. Titan's tail wagged at the attention. 3 months after the trials ended, Marcus drove Elena to a small town in Oregon that neither of them had ever been to before. It had a main street with actual shops, a diner that served pie like it was a religious obligation, and a real estate office with a sign in the window advertising affordable homes for new beginnings. What do you think? Marcus asked. Elena looked around at the quiet streets, the friendly faces, the absolute normalcy of it all. I think it's perfect. They bought a house on the edge of town. 2 bedrooms, a big yard for Titan, a porch where they could watch the sunset. Nothing fancy, nothing that would draw attention. Everything they needed. Marcus still had nightmares sometimes. He probably always would. But now when he woke in the dark, gasping for air, Elena was there beside him, and Titan was there at the foot of the bed, watching over them both. That made all the difference. One evening, 6 months after they'd moved in, Elena came home from her new job, consulting for the Department of Justice on anti-trafficking initiatives, and found Marcus on the porch. What are you thinking about? She asked, sitting beside him. The snow. The mountain? No, the concept. He was quiet for a moment. When I found you, you were almost gone. A few more hours, and there would have been nothing to save. And I keep thinking about all the people who don't get found. All the ones who stay buried. Elena took his hand. You can't save everyone. I know. I learned that a long time ago. He turned to look at her. But I can save some. And maybe that's enough. Maybe that's all any of us can do. Save the ones in front of us and hope it ripples out. That's surprisingly philosophical for you. I've been reading.
Since when?
Since you filled our house with books, he smiled. You're a bad influence. The worst. Titan appeared from inside the house and flopped down between them with a contented sigh. His muzzle was almost entirely gray now. His movements were slower, his joints stiffer. But his eyes were still sharp, still watchful, still carrying the intelligence that had saved so many lives. He's getting old, Elena said softly. We all are. How much longer do you think? Marcus didn't answer right away. He scratched behind Titan's ears the way the dog liked, feeling the familiar weight of that head against his leg. I don't know. The vet says his heart is strong. His spirit is stronger. But he's been through a lot, more than most dogs ever go through. He paused. However long it is, I'm going to make sure every day counts. He deserves that. He deserves more than I can ever give him. They sat in comfortable silence as the sun dipped below the horizon. The sky turned orange, then pink, then the deep purple of approaching night. Marcus? Elena's voice was hesitant. Yeah? I've been thinking about something. Should I be worried? Maybe. She took a breath. What would you say if I told you I want to adopt? A child, I mean. Someone who needs a family. Marcus went still. I know it's a lot, Elena continued quickly, and I know we've only been here 6 months, and we're still figuring things out. And maybe it's too soon to even think about. Yes. Elena stopped. Yes, what? Yes. I think we should adopt. He turned to face her fully. I've been thinking about it too. About what it would mean to give someone the chance we both almost didn't get. To show them that family isn't about blood. It's about choice. About showing up every day, even when it's hard. You've really been thinking about this? Every day since we moved here, he smiled. I was just waiting for you to bring it up first. Elena laughed. Really laughed. The sound bright and free. You're infuriating. You love it. God help me, I do. She kissed him then, there on the porch of their small house in their quiet town, while Titan watched, with the patient wisdom of a creature who understood love better than most humans ever would. 8 months later, they brought home a 5-year-old girl named Sophia. She had dark hair, serious eyes, and a history that no child should have to carry. She'd been found during a trafficking raid 2 years earlier, one of the operations that Elena's testimony had helped expose. Sophia didn't speak for the first 3 weeks. She watched everything with those serious eyes, waiting for the other shoe to drop, waiting for the adults to prove they couldn't be trusted. Titan was the one who broke through. The dog seemed to understand, somehow, that this small human needed him. He stayed close to her constantly, lying beside her chair at meals, sleeping outside her bedroom door at night, following her around the yard with infinite patience. One morning, Marcus came downstairs to find Sophia sitting on the living room floor with Titan's massive head in her lap. She was whispering something too quiet to hear. He started to back away, not wanting to interrupt. Titan saved you too, Sophia said suddenly. Marcus froze. It was the first time she'd spoken directly to him. What? Elena told me. She said you were lost, and Titan found you. Like he found her in the snow. Like he found me. Sophia looked up, and her eyes weren't quite so serious anymore. He finds lost people. Marcus felt his throat tighten. Yeah, he does. Is that why he stays with me? Because I'm lost? Marcus crossed the room and knelt beside her. You're not lost anymore, Sophia. You're home. Promise? I promise. Sophia stared at him for a long moment. Then she did something she'd never done before. She hugged him. Marcus held her carefully, this small person who had survived things that would have broken most adults, and felt something shift in his chest. A lock opening. A wall coming down. Thank you, Sophia whispered. For what? For wanting me? Marcus pulled back so he could see her face. Sophia, wanting you was the easiest decision I've ever made. You belong with us. You always belonged with us. Titan's tail thumped against the floor, and Sophia actually smiled. Later that night, after Sophia was asleep and the house was quiet, Marcus stood on the porch again. Elena found him there, as she often did. Big day, she said. She talked to me. I heard. Elena slipped her arm around his waist. She's going to be okay. You think so? I know so. She has you. She has me. She has a ridiculous German shepherd who thinks he's her personal guardian angel. Elena paused. She has everything she needs to heal. Marcus thought about healing, about all the different forms it could take, about the years he'd spent believing he was too broken to be fixed. I never thought I'd have this, he admitted. A home, a family, a reason to wake up in the morning that wasn't just survival. And now? Now I can't imagine life any other way. They stood together in the darkness, two people who had found each other through violence and loss, and the impossible grace of a dog who refused to stop digging. Inside the house, Titan lay in front of Sophia's bedroom door, exactly where he'd been every night since she arrived. His eyes were closed, but his ears were alert, listening for any sound of distress. He was old now, tired. His body ached in ways it never used to. But he had one more mission, one more person to protect, one more life to save, day by day, moment by moment, with nothing but presence and patience and unconditional love. And that was enough. That was everything. 2 years later, Elena would wake Marcus in the middle of the night to tell him she was pregnant. They would name their son Daniel, after Marcus's father. And Sophia would insist on being involved in every aspect of her baby brother's life. 3 years after that, Titan would fall asleep on his favorite spot in the yard and not wake up. They would bury him there, under the oak tree where he liked to rest in the summer shade, and Sophia would cry for a week straight. But she would also write a story about him for school, about a dog who found lost people and brought them home. Her teacher would call it the best thing a student had ever written in her 20 years of teaching. The story would spread. Other teachers would share it. Eventually, a local newspaper would publish it, and people would read about Titan, about his loyalty, his courage, his impossible gift for finding those who needed to be found. And they would feel something stir in their chests. Hope, maybe, or faith, or simply the reminder that miracles don't always come with thunder and lightning. Sometimes they come with 4 paws and a wagging tail. Sometimes they come through a stranger who refuses to walk away. Sometimes they come in the form of a woman buried in snow, who taps against frozen ground because she isn't ready to give up. If you're watching this today, wherever you are, whatever you're carrying, I want you to know something. The snow doesn't get the final word. It never does. There is always someone digging toward you. Always someone listening for that faint tap beneath the surface. Always someone who refuses to believe you're beyond saving. You just have to hold on long enough for them to find you. Marcus Cole held on. Elena Reyes held on. A 5-year-old girl named Sophia held on. And a German shepherd named Titan showed them all that love, real love, never stop searching for those it's meant to protect. That's not just a story. That's a promise. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments. Share this story with someone who needs to hear it. And if you're going through something hard right now, something that feels like being buried in snow with no one coming, please hear this. Hold on. Keep tapping. Help is on the way. It might come from somewhere you never expected. It might come with 4 paws and dark eyes and a heart bigger than you ever imagined possible. But it's coming. I promise you, it's coming. God bless you and your family. Stay warm, stay hopeful, and remember, the snow never gets the final word. Never. The end.